Hello, Americans. There are means to discern how there are been criminally foreign influenced slash hyper criminally foreign influenced readings of statutes and of precedents and of reality simultaneously at countries A through Z since founding slash S. I tell it best so many ways. Boxing. I teach us things. So the Facebook page of Judge Napolitano is recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed to an extent consciously being and having been exploited before and after he worked with Fox News by people with New Britain Superior Court and involved with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. Overt criminal enterprises, plural, private ones, plural, their family members, and their timed collusion slash S at corners of streets in intercampuses through time, consciously with every campus of each age and nature and the differences of them is being and have been has been exploited by this breaching method at countries A through Z, which missed how a breaching method employed names A through Z having been already sustained, rolls with systems tactical ulterior from nature's employments of names A through Z. So we are individual volume signs. Simultaneously, we are grouped difference slash S and species volume. And there all these species have its system, the hyper simultaneous and demonstration of this. The species is simultaneously evaluated while we are simultaneously relative to it. We have relatives because relativity comes with slash hyper relativity. It also comes with the fact that the sciences were left criminally foreign influence and tactically delusions wrought, individually grouped and together as victims slash hyper victims per from off all location slash S. Use slash S of all location slash S. Sustain, not one S chain. And then our founders were born. The suburbs were already designed, principally, tactically denatured as a landscape theater, more and more dependent on resources from other locations, tactical ulterior, from how nature showed this and how nature communicates. See, what is communicated is greater than and is more finite than and is active relativity to, from, as, with, and for what is said. There has been forbid appreciation by people who had to do with business anyway. Whole bunch of styles of logic, needs, and natures of logic abridged. Who have with that logic reliance upon other natures of, like law experts. Or the law experts rely upon experts on reason and logic. How insane is that? They're also tactically delusions raw, slash hyper tactically. The branches of government, individually grouped together to understand how this has stayed. So, and other has been pretended. For example, you have to understand how it is concentrated somewhere, that collusion at the locations in the ways known because of what is not realized with location slash S. And the difference too at hospitals across the country, they have roles with what is, like, for example, in 1822, on the campus of Hartford Hospital in Hartford, Connecticut, the Institute of Living was founded, a mental health care location where there have been roles across the country. planting fake conversations and transcripts to use investigators remotely, simultaneously to hide that being having been, and worse. And the difference of that, they're because their patients and criminals are also kept needing to hide, and the differences of that, and their family members or the family members of the interbranch. See, associated with them are distinct natures of courts, like probate courts. Probate courts, a whole bunch of courts, family members, and people associated with their family members are involved on off Town Line Drive and Hangdog Lane in Weathersfield, Connecticut, in conjunctions and adjacents to it, like Route 3, or I should say, them as conjunctions and adjacents to Route 3. The state judicial branch offices also being one. But this is along all roads and routes and town lines. For exploitations of the formal identities of the law and their strengths and restrengths, and as moderated by the breaching method. See, suits and ties, counters and exceptions can be discerned collusion/S with descriptions of logic and of instances where and how. They come with the hyper evidential, increasingly forbid by also the nature of people A through Z. See, there's a quality of fact human nature too that left out. How our countries individually grouped together, they have roles with prisons and words like crimes, where you guys are still criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw, collusion/S at crime scenes, at body dumping spots, with the news, changing people's words and making totally fake conversations with people. Still roles with child offender leaders of the kids. The same time, they had collusions with elderly homes and veteran homes and the names next to them with security. That's also next to the state corrections offices, which is on the Weathersfield Town Line, Hartford, right on the way it is, too. That's not by accident. So increasingly, people from Weathersfield schools recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed they have roles of predicate acts with facts there. And on off the state corrections offices. Former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. Both sides of that case, his co-defendants with him, in his defendant capacities, his co-defendants and people on the associated with the plaintiff side and other cases too against the same union involved and avert criminal enterprises and private ones and various natures of federal criminals and their family members and neighbors. And they've been increasingly attached me to faked and changed conversations about this. And as a means to pretend I had conversations with people like a Leahy family. There are two people with the name Brendan Leahy that are recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, increasingly involved with wire crimes within O'Brien family with various police departments and campuses, including a prison campus at Sandy Hook, and their roles with child campuses, putting fake things in databases. Literally, in other words, all kinds of behavior racketeering roles and uses of people's names, criminally foreign influence, because of their roles timed with foreign bodies, showing them increasingly mayors are involved with them, elections, locations, involved with murders and shootings and confessions involved with this. We're increasingly criminal enterprises involved with child grammar schools and younger and middle schools as people that never even have classes together where they're putting fake things in databases. Increasingly, they have the departments, the names of the sciences, therefore the names of the people of the sciences too. In layers, in other words, individually grouped and together, they have them where people repeat fake things about other people that never had conversations with them. There are proofs that they're pretending other too. For the people leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context and since. They also had roles attaching kids and their family members to fake conversations about organized various natures of organized crime that are tactically juxtaposed with our schools and the difference between the overt criminal enterprises, private ones, a whole bunch of countries involved. So I read on my own that there's roles with Koreans, but also the people that are Rick C. and Faglione sought me out to record in the year 1994. They made confessions and his roles with Jonathan Mayano. A Jonathan Mayano and a Rick C. and Faglione used to have roles with my neighbors. But I never saw them together. I didn't know who Jonathan Mayano was. I remember one exception when I went by a thing and they said his name. That's how they make people remember the people's names. These are the people associated, supposed to be teaching people how to learn things. They're keeping the subjects obfuscate, even though like that you can teach them real simple. They're keeping the time and the reason, the motivations narratives for it used to screen the actual motivations that are juxtaposed, which are most relevant black pupils. So we have had means to discern, just having black pupils and white divide. We have had means to discern the descriptions of American history, how they are and have been criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw, and stayed tactically ulterior. From that nature, our founders didn't have free speech to get us to have. And see, the nature people would jump in and say, "Oh, what do you mean they didn't have free speech? They told us to put free speech." In other words, we're supposed to understand North and South sickly distinctly as the possession of other countries themselves sickly distinctly. Fact, achieving nature slaves. They had roles with slavery sickly distinctly, North and South. And then our founders were born. That's just one. They had witch trials. Even if that was completely made up, discerning of what it's about, our founders were sickly distinctly, fact, achieving nature enslaved. That our founders, as the face of George Washington, as the face of James Madison, they went out and got someone to help use James Madison's plan, as we were told to describe this. And George Washington agreed to use Madison's plan, which was counter extortion at 13 locations in more than 13 colonies to cause a chain of events where everyone was in trouble at the same time by the crazy laws individually grouped in together. And everyone had no means to get out of it without reliances upon James Madison's plan and founders. Not just the ones that George Washington brought hyper additionally to the field, yet liberated. So, in other words, the cost of things, vaccines, the intelligence community knows to an extent, including the ones involved with Facebook. Facebook has completely on their own, they have individuals grouped and together through time, roles with the principal child offender, roles with various natures of federal crimes, federal evidences crimes, federal rules of evidences crimes, with and extortion, identity theft, fraud, slanders, and fake motivations, criminally foreign influences, / hypercriminal foreign influences at Connecticut courts like Superior Court still. Hartford Superior Court and the Britain Superior Court recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed before the World Trade Center attack and after it, roles with federal evidences crimes and such I noted at West Hartford locations, where and how former director of the FBI, his depositions, also had roles with judges, prosecutors, their family members, and intimate ties, who were planting evidences also with people from Wethersfield and foreign and domestic militaries, leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context and since. People who enter cities who have been planting evidences of criminally foreign influence with a whole bunch of different countries because there's also a hyperforeign that keeps other things, others, or selves blamed for what the hyperforeign did and does and maintains, while nature is demonstrating the real cause on all the slash S of negative, the worst negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. See, this preaching method employed that while it was sustaining what was unfathomable, it made fathomable, believable, where how everything the preaching method caused was employed to be blamed on other things, others, or selves, even when it was against every self. No one wanted that. But people have made. That's what they'll tell you when you examine closely, like how they'll key in on what they go against with things. Like, for example, New Britain Superior Court made rape threats to me, and they're forbidding putting things on writing, because then when I went to go step over the counter because they were blocking the thing, they're involved with behavior racketeering. Through since I was a kid, people in the Britain Superior Court, they have a black female judge and a white female judge and other male judges involved with prosecutors, their family members, even little kids involved with the principal child defender. They forced it. Principal police chief Cintron, his roles with the Bravo network. They should get out of under a cover too. Countries A through Z. They should get out of thinking, and they should get out of the way when someone knows particular acts, like someone being Ryan Garcia. I noted he was mentioning being held down. Rather than focusing on that, you guys are putting, in other words, forget that. Forget, I don't know Ryan Garcia. I know, in other words, I accepted the challenge of, for example, of Gervonta Davis on Twitter. And I'm about to start training hard, but I keep being held back by this because increasingly since I was a kid. So in other words, a Rick Paglione, years later, he recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. He has roles with the Bryan family. It has something to do with their roles with the corners of the streets, with Russians, with their roles with Koreans, their roles with people from Italy involved with child offenders that are sexual and medical, involved with the name Demoro and a Mr. Abruzzi. I don't know who Rick Paglione's teachers were, and or nor the people he had used my name with. But there are prosecutors and judges. One involved with the Brian Silver and a prosecutor named Salisbury, and others I don't know the names of, involved with people on off Covington Street next to Central Connecticut State University, who also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed this, and their roles with the houses and names next to Trinity College on Zion Street and on New Britain Avenue. It has something to do with the difference of the two New Britain Avenues, as that confessed by the people with the foreign and domestic military, like Emily or Amy with the Hartford Superior Court, involved with Eric Burgess as one of the people that were planting evidences in West Hartford, and with a Dean Judd and his family members, and on off Central in New Britain Superior Court, in New Britain Central Connecticut State University. I never saw Eric Burgess on the campus of Central Connecticut State University in my life. They also forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded Saudis, not even realizing, to collusion /S with them, and people involved with the Claudia Scalora, involved increasingly with people at other campuses I went since I was the youngest kid. And I never saw her on a campus in my life. I don't know her. In other words, she tried to make me, she knew my Saudi friend. And in other words, increasingly they have roles with the spots next to the state capitol and at shopping centers and malls, with people involved with the Claudia Scalora who have roles with identity theft, fraud, slanders, foreign and domestic medical families, people from Pakistan with them also involved, other corners of streets and all along roads and routes. A John Dennis is also roles with people at and a Mayor Gold, with people at along Route 175 in the corners of streets who have been planting evidences in databases, including teachers, the difference between the teachers and professors and deans and sergeant principals and gym teachers. There are families with the name and tied to the name Casper, who people at Hartford Hospital brought into this. And they have a whole bunch of people at Hartford Hospital involved with the name Mark Violet and the Justin Kovinskis involved with the intelligence community with the O'Brien family and with the Rick Ciampaglione. They made confessions tied to them too. And their roles with the judges and prosecutors planting evidences on those streets with the kids since they were kids. And they have relatives that teach with the intelligence community at Central Connecticut State University. So they've been raising state police and regular police and military, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, raw roles with natures of identity theft, fraud, slanders, and fake motivations for Black pupils, because that's what the breaching method is manifest as. Nature is increasingly demonstrating this to us. So when there are differences online, and they have also words like addiction, these are people that have been sticking rackets with the lawyers too. All kinds of fabricating things into databases with the lawyers involved with extortion and child offenders, including sexual and medical at Hartford Hospital, involved with their patients, run into the high life progresses with them, has something to do with their roles with the community center in Weathersfield. I never went on the stage to be hypnotized, and I don't believe anyone was hypnotized, but the people that were on the stage to be hypnotized were involved with confessions of a Ray Colo and a Joe DeMoro. I only saw them one time ever real fast on the campus, around the, I don't know if that's considered a campus, the community center. But they have roles with all sides of it too, all sides of the community center with their roles with predicate acts, with federal evidences crimes, and planting evidences with the Dillon family on all sides of my houses through time. There are people involved with the state judicial branch offices and the state corrections offices that have been spreading rumors and things tied to uses of investigators criminally foreign influence, and they have narratives tied to people who played football with me, and or also the difference of that and people who played football in the field with a guy with a red truck or whatever they were playing, and so involved with the state judicial offices, increasingly involved with the names involved with the World Trade Center attack, who make fake exceptions, where and how confessions are involved too, because these are people involved with treatments of the presidents and the differences of the parties, because that is also reported, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. There's an extent of consciousness that the agencies know that their methods, their sources and methods are criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, raw. But see, everyone was backed into defenses of identities of difference that were and are increasingly natures of difference, systems of different, tactile terrier from the one that has us with the same color eyes, Black pupils, and different color eyes at the same time. And there are exceptions. And some of us have the same color eyes with those exceptions too. And some of us have the same color eyes with the exceptions too. We have different color, different pigmented skin. And everyone had left out formally how the breaching method formally applied to be sensed and discerned. If collusions weren't self-valued because of sense and sensibility, no, because no one would self-evaluate. But you self-evaluate, you have to forget about it because no one has, we don't have control about it. Also, this breaching method showed all former identities of law, like prosecutors, interstates, and judges, that they use words like control as collusions, where and how they're putting fake things in databases. And we know anyone who followed that hypernative trail whether you're Native American or not. Like I'm not Native American, but there's a hyper Native trail. Because if you care about humanity, if you care about your country, if you're, you know that there was insane laws, and it was what no one wanted before our founders were born, and that had been sustained. And so when you're little, you know that we have this might that we still have not utilized. Everyone longs the water, not to go to some resort because it's less polluted, but tactically going downhill. All fake landscape theater across the board, let alone the cities. Nature, these are systems tactical ulterior from nature. Who denies that will have inherent active to and progressive to the demonstrations of their logic of this. With descriptions of logic, the value and needs for experts, for example, that has been overcome with where and how the parties have needs and exceptions, have needs just to make jobs. So they're making jobs as experts that can't defend themselves and afford to be, let alone to protract with people who aren't even, for the good reasons you have to make people go through courts and be. See, but now to make doctors to make sure they're legitimate with reason, they kept that more and more. You have to be legitimate. You have to be entertaining, criminally foreign influence, fact, human nature, quality aspects in nature as criminal insidious nature, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. I'm not a lawyer. The lawyers at Harvard Hospital. There are some of the lawyers. There are good lawyers. No, we're going to show the difference between the good and bad when they use them the identity singularly. But this is also in the Britain has medical people involved with this too, and military people. Joe DeMoro said that and the FBI and other people recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed the FBI has roles with Eric Klotz and his family, who were told lies to me. In other words, I don't know what it was, but it has something to do with their roles with Central Connecticut State University intelligence. And people with the World Trade Center, and people with the court next to it, whether they realize it or not. All sides of the Ninth Circuit Court, all sides in that case. And it was proven after that in the Ninth Circuit Court, that went one of the cases that went before a panel of judges, right next to the World Trade Center towers that day of the attack. It was proven after the attack from inside the court. Documents had been post-dated to appear late to the court, to the judges, but that was proven after the attack. And then that led up to a 2006 district court case. But now instead of being in Manhattan, it was in Connecticut with Judge Hall and former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and co-defendants of his and their lawyer are Robert Chevrolet. And Thaddeus Grabowski, right before that, he was recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with federal, various natures of organized crime, per people from Wethersfield, involved next to Fox Connecticut News with them, and with the courts like the Britain Superior Court with rape threats and other passion crimes. With and as people involved with the Eric Burgess and other people with the military, and people associated with the Kolvinskis confessions, and Mark Violet and Mike Violet, and their neighbors, and roles with the Joshua Julian, with the Facebook page with the principal child defender, and a police chief Cintron. These are also people with the Bravo network. And with the FBI, with next to WTNH involved with digital crimes with them, with a principal upskirt nature per them, and per other upskirt pictures on Twitter involved, and including it will look just like one of the students, and also the daughter of one of the Brendan Leahy is involved with criminally foreign influence uses of my name and Facebook page, and their roles faking conversations with me into databases. And with this Rick San Paglione, with the Timothy O'Brien and Andrew O'Brien, and a Ray Claw with a whole bunch of different police reports, police departments, and it has something to do with Ray Claw's roles with a Newington spots, and the names that know my name, I don't know their name, and their roles with the spots next to the state capitol. And I never seen Ray Claw there. I don't know if he was at which about that place, but I had no communication with him there at all. If he was there, when at it was a Sharkies back in the day, and that's also like there are people associated with Joseph Lieberman and his family member. I never saw Joe DeMauro. I never saw the DeMauros at the Caldor shopping center, or it's not now. It's a Walmart, and there's a shop right there in Weathersfield off of Town Line Drive. But the DeMauros and a Jonathan Liano they have something to do, and a Mike Pandolf. And people tied to a Mike Pandolf have something from other countries. And it's nothing personal against those other countries. And I don't know the name of the guy. I think he's from I think he's Latino. I don't, in other words, associated with the policing there. I know there's a Dillon family, and the guy who said that, who was his partner, to my speech class teachers. I had two speech class teachers who have roles with various natures of organized crime and drugs and medicines crimes with the kids, and with the male female intelligence sickly distinctly, tactically delusions raw too. Oh, this is how humanity's volume science gets played. See all natures of difference. The differences into branch, black, white, male, female, they are being and have been employed from off their locations, used as to measure and maintain their role, self-valued, stacking fake things in databases, including into branch, and the differences of them and or of the overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and insidiousness of people A through Z. And do they just attach you to that anyway? Hey, any prayer. It's not, and then they have excuses. They're shown that they need to keep it blamed on other things other than themselves. So they blame it on things like, oh, well, they didn't have money for lawyers. The lawyers are tactically delusions raw. There's a Trantola and Trantola who has delusions and has roles with the intelligence community. Recorded, plus, demonstrated, confirmed, using him on the internetworks still. Placing ad placements. They have companies with ad placements that are changing and faking transcripts with child offenders, including sexual and medical at the same time, other natures of organized crime. Now, these are not people legitimately as police form pretending to be Los Solitos and other gangs associated with the DeMauro families, like a John DeMauro, involved with this Mr. Pruzzi, my fifth grade teacher, also increasingly involved with the whiting forensics with body dumping spots. Before I was in fifth grade, involved with kids, and after I was in fifth grade, in my sixth grade class, there was a guy on Fair Lane, a street over from me, with the name Burstein, who has roles through time with he has at least three sons. I don't know if they have a sister, but they've been putting fake things in databases. And he wasn't my sixth grade teacher. They made one exception because they make fake exceptions. This is one of the things they do, including where and how and why. For example, they're actually motivated to pretend that things are complicated. Tactical Terrier, from how nature communicates the word, is complicated. And Tactical Terrier, they pretend things are simple. Tactical Terrier, from how nature communicates it. So you guys are missing out with how to so the difference between Facebook's complete and criminal involvements with child offenders and with judges and prosecutors with their family members. Increasingly, like I say, at least 3 or 4 probate judges alone are ones involved with the Superior Court still. and has named timed collusions with Connecticut's judicial branch offices and the conjunctions and adjacents to it, wire crime acts and methods and roles, mail crime acts and methods and roles, people associated with this, like with the Wethersfield Police, with the Wethersfield Pizza, involved with the Stephen Stocko, involved with people with the Britain Superior Court, and I mean with the Britain, all those courts, but and increasingly the Britain Superior and the state judicial branch offices involved with Wethersfield Pizza, with intercampuses, federal evidences, crimes, identity theft, fraud, slanders, fake ties and fake natures of ties, completely fake ties between students pretended into databases, and the fake motivations for it. Has something to do with their confessing, demonstrating, recording, confirming their roles with all those countries noted and more. So they have roles with Afghan leaders and kids through time, and the difference of how it was a female, as roles with timed with wire crimes with the Los Solitos and the Wethersfield Police and Hartford Police and their family members on Zion Street. I don't even know her name. She knows my name probably, but she's probably intelligence. But these are people through wars involved with the World Trade Center, the name King too, and they're hiding what is recorded tied to the Kings because they attached the King family to repeat fake things that are the Morrow family and sexual circles involved with Heather Hansen, also involved with a Dan King. Has something to do with, and I don't even know Dan King to be personal, and they made it look like I was running against him, and I never formally signed up to run against him, and they never gave me a speech or a debate, so they never gave me voice. It made it look fake, and I never saw Dan King around. I never had a class with him. Never saw him around the school. Dan King was in my grade though. See, people that are in, and then they call it a class of the 93 class. No, they make people look like they're in a class. They're putting people on fake locations. There's a Jennifer Smith, the recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with federal evidences crimes, with evidences with people like with the family members of my lying to the family members of my old what is it called? Babysitters. That's increasingly these people at Hartford Hospital have roles, planting evidences on all sides of people's houses too, where how the identities of the law are so overtly / insidiously used remotely, criminally for and influenced, and still have the audacity to get up and pretend emotions dishonestly while pretending other when people criticize them. They can't accept compliments either. They forge names and switch names. So let's focus on that. So Wethersfield Police have been forging names and switching names. The lawyer of the Wethersfield Police has personal and professional criminal involvements with child offenders and with worse, and with the people on off the state judicial branch offices. Fear God. Let's get them on paper, one name in sequence. Let's go.